Live. We're alive. Good evening. Tonight we're talking about shipping and shipping your goods to Cyprus and how long it really takes to actually do what you need to do, move your stuff over. I'm going to talk to you about invoices. I'm going to show you a load of cool stuff tonight. I'm going to show you the invoices that I used and that we had, given to us when we first did it. I'm going to show you photos of the move, show you what it actually looks like, and I'm just going to give you an overview of what to expect if you are going to ship goods to Cyprus. Okay. You're watching Cyprus Unfiltered, where I tell you real stories about real life here in Cyprus. And tonight I am still in Cyprus, but I am in a hotel. As you can tell, my background is different. Now, hopefully you can hear me okay because I'm coming to you from earphones tonight because annoyingly, I'm trying to set my mics up and this little bad boy blocks the ports. So I'm having to use my AirPods to talk to you so I can show you some stuff on a second screen because I've got lots of stuff to show you tonight. But I am in a hotel. And I will just mention this actually, for those of you that are thinking of coming to Paphos and staying in a hotel, I'm in the King Elverton right now. And it is a 5-star resort. It's a 5-star hotel. Interestingly, it doesn't really feel like a 5-star hotel. It feels extremely dated, I'll be honest. I'm walking around, it feels very clinical. And I just want to show you the room, which is while I'm sat here, okay? So you have these light switches, which do nothing, literally does nothing. There's the same over there. There's two. There's one over there. And you can't see them. I'm pointing. You've got one by the telly. You've got one by the hairdryer. These switches do nothing. I swear they just flick the lights on in other people's rooms. There's a thing in Cyprus. Even in our house that we rent, we have these switches that do nothing, and the landlord can't even tell us what they do. So she's like, I don't know. So yeah, you've got these. Then you've got this. You've got a bedside light, right? Nothing. There's nothing, and you can see the whole thing moves. Like, look at that. It's terrible. So anyway, this is a 5-star hotel. I don't know if you can tell at the back, but the bedside tables that are fixed to this, they're kind of at an angle. So when you put anything on it, if it rolls, it just rolls off. The other thing I was going to say, hopefully you don't hear any noises, but the walls are paper thin. So if somebody walks past the corridor, I can hear them talking. They can normally hear me probably. But if somebody's outside talking, you can literally hear it. I could hear the guy in the bath next door earlier on. Hopefully no rumpy pumpy goes on tonight because that's going to get real awkward real quick. So if it does, then I might have to do something different, start charging you guys or something, I don't know. But anyway, hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully he stays quiet. I'm not going to talk to you anymore about the hotel. I'm just saying if you come to the King Elverton, don't worry about it. It's not really 5-star. It doesn't feel 5-star. Breakfast is also a bit meh. I wouldn't even eat here, to be honest. I literally woke up this morning, wasn't really looking forward to breakfast. That's how bad it was. I was like, okay. So anyway, enough about that. I'm going to talk to you about shipping. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to tell you about my experiences here in terms of what to expect. This isn't going to be a step-by-step, every single thing you have to do. And the reason for that is because things change, right? So I moved here back in 2022. And when we moved in 2022, obviously the laws and things like that were different. Not 22, sorry, 23. And the laws and things like that were different. And maybe the process has changed. So if you use a company, the process might be different to when I did it. So I don't want to say prescriptively, this is what it looks like, because it might not be. I'm just going to tell you prescriptively what we experienced. I'm going to show you as we go through. Now, if you've seen the thumbnail on this video, you'll have noticed that we've used Peter Morton. And Peter Morton is one that gets mentioned quite regularly on Facebook. Also, I've got, maybe the switch is call the butler. Maybe. That could get awkward too. We'll see if there's a knock on the door. So we used Peter Morton, and the other one that we were looking at really was, I've got my notes here as well, so I'm looking down because I'm not in my usual setup, but CSS Shipping. So Andrea Etherington was the lady that works at CSS Shipping. And we actually had a consultation with both of them. And before I go into the detail of what that looked like, I just kind of want to say what you can and can't take, because a lot of people, I see this a lot, people ask it a lot, and they want to know what should you take, what can you take, that kind of thing. The reality is you can take almost anything. Like you can take your furniture, you can take toys, you can take tools, you can take vehicles, right? You can take pretty much almost anything. I would recommend, and I'm going to come on to this at the end, but I'd recommend you do take as much as you can, because things out here are expensive. There are some troublesome items, though, that you can't take. So technically speaking, you're not allowed to take alcohol. The reason for that is because of now Brexit and everything else, assuming you're coming from the UK and not from somewhere in Europe. If you're coming from Europe, you're probably fine because of the EU trading and free movement of goods and all of that. If you're coming from the UK, not fine. They would want to tax you on the alcohol that you bring in. So we were advised if we wanted to bring any alcohol, we should hide it in between other things. Anyway, that didn't happen. We brought a little bit, we didn't bring much because we just didn't want to get caught out. But the other thing that you struggle to bring, and you can bring them, but they are lithium batteries. So we're not just talking about car batteries, or they're not lithium anyway. But we're not talking about like the bigger lithium batteries. We're talking about literally everything, like your watch battery, your phone battery. If you've got a battery pack for charging, you're not allowed to put any lithium batteries inside the containers. They made such a big thing of this, and I'm going to come on to this later on with regards costs and everything else. But lithium batteries are real troublesome. So when we were moving our alarm system, I didn't bother with any of the monitored alarms here on the island. And I brought my own alarm system from the UK, a smart alarm that I could then install myself as I moved around. And every one of the sensors, they were all like the door sensors, the window sensors, all had lithium batteries in. So I'd got them all. I had to literally ditch all my lithium batteries, or a load of them, because I couldn't bring them in because of fire safety and everything else, fire hazards. And I will come on to that in a little bit, because if you bring loads of lithium, or if you've got a hybrid car or anything like that, it can massively change the cost of you bringing stuff in and storing it and everything else, because the safety and everything just goes up. So yeah, you can bring anything in, but like I say, they are two of the troublesome items, the alcohol, lithium batteries. But anyway, for us, the end-to-end process. So this is step 2 in my little mini series. So for those of you that didn't tune in last week, step 1 was about us finding a school. This week, step 2, when we were looking at the schools, we also started looking at shipping. So this was about September of 2022. We'd just done our extended stay. We then came back and we started looking at schools, and we started looking at shipping companies, because honestly, I didn't know how long the lead time was. I didn't know if these guys get booked up weeks or months in advance. So I was like, well, let's at least make sure we can ship stuff over. I figured we could get a house. That bit wouldn't be the problem. We just needed to know about shipping. So we started in September 2022. And the first thing we got told was, way too early. Okay, cool. Well, at least I'm being proactive. So we restarted in May of 2023. So we were moving in August, and we restarted in May. And what happened was, from May onwards, you start booking the dates, you start filling in all the paperwork. And pretty much between then May and August, the move is when we literally did everything and filled it all in, got everything signed off. And then 1st of August comes along. 1st of August comes along, the vans turn up. I'm going to show you photos of all of this. The vans turn up, they box all your stuff up, they take it, they put it on the van, and then they literally take it away to the shipping port in the UK. You get an appointment at customs, and you need to then go and see customs, and you talk to those guys, and I'll tell you more about this in a little bit. But you go and see the customs guys, you give them all the documentation, information, everything else, and then you're waiting for your goods to arrive. And the goods for us arrived on September the 1st. So they left our house on 1st of August in the UK. 4 weeks later, or 4 or 5 weeks later, September the 1st is when we actually got access to them. Now, September the 1st was when they were delivered to our house. They were actually on the island about a week prior to that, but we couldn't get to them because of customs clearance and everything else. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you now some photos. I just need to just shuffle a couple of things around. Let me know. Let me do this. Coming through. Right. So I'm going to go through these in order. And what you can see here is our car. And this was on, and I've put the date up here so you can see it, 1st of August, 2023. So this was what, 11 days before we were due to actually leave the country. So we've got the lorry turn up. And again, this is Peter Morton lorry. And basically what we've done, the day prior, they'd done all the packing. So it was like the day prior, all the packing was done. Everything was kind of boxed up and inventoried. I'm going to go through all of that process in a little bit, so just bear with me. And this is essentially the second day of them turning up, where they load everything onto the lorry. Now, they needed to block the road for about, I don't know, I think it was about 2-3 hours, something like that. Honestly, that was a pain in the arse, because you can see where they're parked. They kept having to move the lorry because people wanted to get past. We've got the neighbours that were complaining because we're in a cul-de-sac. So some of the neighbours weren't happy. people trying to get in, they couldn't, and it was just a faff. Honestly, I was not happy. Just think they could have moved the lorry over. They could have been a bit more helpful, but anyway, they didn't. It was all over the floor. You can see here they've got all the wood there, and all this wood is to actually get the car onto the lorry. And I'm going to show you why. Because basically, what happens is they use it to pack up the front wheels so they can actually get it on. Now, this whole process took a little while, and I'm going to show you why, because I've got a video here, and actually I can get rid of the info on that one because I wouldn't tell you the day. I'm just showing you this. You won't hear the sound, but that's fine. You don't need to hear the sound. I just want to show you the kind of, the video, you can see sort of what they're doing, and this is how they get in the car, and I'm just going to fast forward this. So let me go back slightly. Come back a bit more. A bit more. So you can see like the front of the car there, they're having to pack the front up to try and make it clear and it doesn't hit. And then if we go further on, you get the same problem on the other side. Now, at the time I bought this car, and for those of you that saw my driving video, you'll have seen that I was talking about having different cars, and I actually really wanted to bring an M4 with me, but I was always worried about ground clearance and the roads in Cyprus and stuff like that. And I don't know how they'd have got an M4 on this, to be honest, because I'm looking at the trailer and looking at this, and the clearance that they didn't have, I mean, it was insane. I mean, these guys were, at one point, the bottom of the car did touch, but look, you see how they're having to pack the wheels and everything else. And so they're going to pack the wheels to get it on. Anyway, it's just a bit of a faff. But what happens is, I'll just stop this first for a second. So what happens is the car goes on first, and then they kind of build a wall behind the car. So the car goes on first, then they build a wall behind the car, and then all your goods come in the back of the container. So I had a 40-foot container. It was for us only. It wasn't shared with anybody, but the car goes in first, and then that's basically what they do. Oh, no, don't zoom in. Can't zoom in, but we're going to go that way. Right. So what does that then look like? So then in here now, you can kind of see the car is hidden. There's a wall built, and all of our stuff goes into the back of the lorry. And you can see here, it's all boxed up, it's all labeled and everything else. And this was kind of like all hands on deck. I mean, even to the point where we were helping, it was because, to be honest, we weren't as on it as we should have been. We weren't as packed and ready as we should have been. So credit to Peter Morton where it's due. They did help us pack stuff up quickly, and kind of, we probably took up more of their time than we perhaps should have done. But anyway, everything kind of got packed up, and it all goes in boxes. Everything gets itemized. And then it all went on the back. And then, that's that. So then it all goes. Now, before I go on to the next picture, I'm just going to come back to me for a second. So then it all goes, and you think, great, all of my stuff's on the way to Cyprus now. But what you realize is you go back into your house, you have no furniture, you've got no bed, you've got nothing. You've just put it all in the back of a lorry, and it's off on the way to Cyprus. You're like, oh crap, well now what? So we were sleeping on an airbed that we kept in the house because we hadn't sold the house at the time, and I was coming back and forth. So we kept an airbed in the house. Then there were some things that we weren't selling to Cyprus that we were just going to get rid of. We had a load of alcohol because we didn't send the alcohol in the end. We ended up, our house looked like a pub for a few days. It was sort of like, we kind of had alcohol in the cupboards. You know what it's like. People come over for parties and stuff like that, and it gets brought and it gets left. And over the years, you just accumulate masses of alcohol. So we had loads of alcohol left, and we just invited people to come and take what they wanted. But yeah, you're literally in a house that's empty. You've got nothing in there, and you're like, oh crap, I'm going to live like this now for the next 11 days. So then you're like, well, you're basically camping in your own house. Anyway, fast forward 11 days, we get to the 11th of August, and let me just switch back to the photos. And we get back to Cyprus. We get back to the 11th of August. That's when we leave, and we hit Cyprus. And you go, great, we're in Cyprus now. First thing we did, we went and turned everything on downstairs, and we went for a swim. 11th of August. This was about midnight, I think it was, something like that. And we went for a swim because, why not? We're like, hey, we've got a pool now. Let's go swimming. We're on holiday. We're not on holiday. We just moved. This is our new life. So we went for a swim. But like when you've just left all your furniture behind, when you get to where you're going, you still have no furniture because it hasn't arrived yet. It's on a ship. It's like, oh, crap. So we went up to the rooms. We're like, where do we sleep? Now, in the UK, you could probably get by sleeping on the carpet, and that's fine. But of course, in Cyprus, you don't have carpets. You've got cold-ass tiles. So we went back downstairs. We went to the pool area. We grabbed the sun lounges. We brought them up to one of the rooms. We had our towels with us. I don't know how we ended up with towels, but we had towels with us. I know because I know because I bought some and left some when I came out in July to meet and pay the landlord. I bought some stuff for cleaning and that, so that when we landed, we could just get straight in and all the rest of it. But yeah, had some towels. So that was our bedroom for well, it was about 2 or 3 weeks. The landlord did end up lending us some furniture in the end, which was quite nice of him. But the point is, when you're going to your place, you may not have furniture if it's not furnished. If all of your furniture is on the back of a ship, or it's on a ship, sorry, not on the back of it, it's on a ship, be prepared that when you get to where you're going, you'll have nothing, right? So that was us. That was us sleeping and sitting there. And then 1st of September turns up. You see the date here, we've got 1st September. The container arrives. This is our container. And I was so happy because you feel like a kid in a sweet shop. I won't show you the video, but I've got a video of me walking down to this from my house. And I'm videoing myself going, hey, the stuff's arrived. And I was so excited. And it's because you've not had any creature comforts for like a month, because it's all been, your whole life's been packed up and sent away. So you're coming down, you're like, oh, what did I pack? You've kind of forgotten what you packed, and you're looking forward to certain things. Honestly, at this point, I was just looking forward to getting my car back, because we're driving this little hire car and it used to struggle on the hills. And anyway, so what happens is the container turns up and you have to be there when the container is opened, because when they're sealing it on the other side, so basically if I go back to this picture, no, not that one, this one, when they put everything in, they seal it, and there's a specific seal that goes on there, and then you can take a picture of the seal, and then when they get to it on this side, they break the seal in front of you so that you know it's not being opened at any point on the ship. All very cool. So the container turns up, and then Peter Morton and CSS do this as well, but you have a little shuttle van where they literally load the stuff from the container into the van, and they literally had a couple of vans doing that. One van was driving up. I think it was a couple of vans anyway. I might be lying there. I can't remember. It was either 1 or 2 vans. Actually, can't remember. But basically, the van would then drive up the hill. It would unpack at our house, dump all the boxes. This was about half a mile away. And then it would drive back, fill it up again. And it was just doing that until it was all emptied. And then once that's emptied, then they break down the wall, and then we can get the car out. And this was very, very, very happy. And they get the car out here. Now, again, this is another video because they've got a different ramp. It's a different team. You've got an English team of people, and you have a Cypriot team of people. You've got the guys based in the UK. You've got the guys based in Cyprus. Now, you see here, this is a 7-minute video because that's how long it took to get the car out. And if I just slide this along, if it will play, let's see how good the 5-star internet is in the 5-star hotel. Come on. As you can tell, it's all 5-star. Well, that's not going quite to plan, is it? Well, okay, you're just going to have to take my word for it then. It was really close, like ridiculously close, to the point where, again, I swear it touched coming out. But the guys, like, having to pack it. If you're bringing something really sporty, I actually don't know what they would do. If you brought something more sporty than this, I mean, this isn't huge. Oh, there we go, got an error. Amazing. Right, well, anyway, you get the gist of it. And what was this photo? Right. Okay, so I'll come on to that. So, right. They do the shuttle, yeah, that's fine. That's when they're unpacking it. So literally, they're dumping stuff in here. And this is like everything now in our lounge. So literally, we had nothing. All our life is in boxes, and they're all putting it here. What was I saying about the car, though? Yeah, if you've got something really sporty, if you've got something that's lower to the ground, I actually don't know how they get it on and off the lorry, because watching what they did with that car, I'd be amazed if they don't scratch it. So whether they have to have something more specialist for something that's a lot more sporty, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have wanted anything lower than that. They would have struggled for sure. Or they'd have been packing it with wood, and yeah, I don't know. I would be very nervous, put it that way. But anyway, this is what your house looks like. So when you get everything arriving, it's like you've just moved in, because you have. But you're so excited. And the thing is, you're going through all the boxes and you're going through the inventory and everything else. You get to unpack your stuff and you're like, yes. And you can see here, we've got like a chunk of sofa because we had no sofa. So it's like, yeah, all very exciting. Anyway, let me just switch back to me, and I'm just going to switch back to the comments for a second as well, just in case anybody's asking questions as we go. No, that's cool. Right. Okay. So where next? Let me just bring my notes up. So that was the photos. Paperwork. What's the paperwork involved when you're moving all of this stuff? Short answer, loads of it. Absolutely loads of it. So when you are engaging with the shipping companies, there's loads of stuff you have to produce, but there's loads of stuff you've got to send them up front. But you literally, it's like ID, you've got your packing forms that you've got to do, you've got your transfer of residency to make sure that you're doing all of that. So all of this stuff gets filled in kind of beforehand. For the car, you've got all the information around like the insurance, the proof of ownership, stuff like that. Customers got very interested in our purchase invoice because they wanted to see the value of the car. Now, luckily, because I'd planned this ahead of time, I knew that I was coming to Cyprus because when we knew, so in the year of 2022, I bought a car that I wanted to bring with me almost a year ahead of time because I knew what I wanted to bring when we moved to a sunny environment. It's the one that you've just seen in the pictures. So I managed to buy it outside of that 6-month period. And because of that, I kept the invoice and everything else. Now, if you don't have the invoice, I'm not sure how you're going to be able to prove that you've bought the car, but you will need to prove insurance on the car, that you've had it insured for the last 12 months or whatever, for the period of time outside of those 6 months. But we had the invoice that we could show. Then there's marine insurance. You've got to sort that out. And I'm going to show you all this paperwork in a minute. Every box, we're sticking with the paperwork. Every box that you saw in those pictures, every single box had to be itemized. And it's ridiculous because literally they wrote down everything in the boxes and it was all on this sheet. And then you kind of had to go through it all. And literally every box had a number. And I think we had about 160 individual packets of stuff. And that was all cool. Sort of. It's kind of all cool. But interestingly, because they kept going on about the lithium batteries, I remember there was this one thing that I lost. And it was a jump start off my car. And I thought I wanted it in case the Mercedes didn't start when it was in Cyprus, because I figured it had been in the container for a month. And what would happen if it didn't start? And I thought, I know, I'll find my jump starter. And then if it doesn't start, I can just kind of climb over and get it all going. Could not find it anywhere. Couldn't find it at all. And it was this big lithium jump starter pack. Anyway, for everything that everybody had said, it ended up going in the back of the lorry and it went on the container and somebody packed it. It was like, oh, okay, cool. I didn't pack it. It wasn't even inventoried. But anyway, it went down in there and that's like, well, so I lost it, couldn't find it until everything arrived. And it was only when I was unpacking, I thought somebody'd stolen it. I was like, well, they wouldn't have packed it because it's lithium. Or somebody must have nicked it then. That was my genuine thought for a month until I found it. I was like, oh, okay, they didn't steal it. They just packed it. And my container could have set on fire, but it's fine. It's all good. So actually, just on that note, I'm bouncing around a little bit, but I know I've said lithium batteries. So you might say, well, how do you get your lithium batteries over? Well, when you are packing your normal suitcase on the aeroplane, you are allowed to take, and I didn't know this until the time, we flew with British Airways. You're allowed to take, I think it was 15 or 18 lithium batteries per person. Now I'm thinking, if my lithium batteries explode, I would rather they explode on the water than in the air. But anyway, apparently it's safer to have them in the plane than it is in the container. So it is what it is. So we packed loads of stuff, like the batteries for your tools. If you've got drills, if you're taking tools like that, all of our tools went in the container. But the batteries for the tools, we had to pack it in our suitcase and all our belongings. So we've got these lithium batteries packed in the suitcases and everything else. So anyway, when you're documenting everything, anything that does have lithium batteries in it has to go on as like marked high hazard or hazardous box or something like that. Anyway, it's like a bomb. So you need to do all of that. And then when you're going to customs, in between us sending the stuff and then us actually being able to release the things from customs, we had to have an appointment with customs where we'd go and see them. And in that, they wanted to see that the residency appointment had been booked. So this is where if you're transferring your residency and you're going for a pink slip, or a yellow slip, you need to make sure that you've got that residency appointment booked, because then when you're going through customs and approving transfer of residency, they're not going to tax you on the car. They're not going to tax you or charge you the VAT, because there is a scheme where you can bring something older than 5 years and you don't pay any import duty or VAT if you're doing it when you transfer your residency. And that's what we were doing. So you need to make sure you've got all of that. And again, so for the customs appointment, before they'd release anything to us, and bearing in mind, it wasn't like we went down to the port and then they gave it us and we drove back with it. No. We went down to the port, had to prove it all the insurance. It was the transfer of residency slips, which Peter Morton kind of got us to fill in beforehand, all the insurance stuff and the ownership, all of that, the receipts, all had to be filled in. And then we're like, cool, rubber stamped it all. And then we went back. Now, it didn't matter that we hadn't had the residency appointment yet. It just had to be booked. And that was fine. So you kind of do that in between. You get to Cyprus, you then go and see customs, you do your thing, you sign your life away, you fill in form after form after form after form. They want to know everything you're bringing in. They want to know like microwaves, literally your George Foreman grill, your kettle. They want to know everything because they want to know the value of it. Now, if you're transferring residency, that's cool. They don't charge you for any of this stuff, but they just still want to know the value of it, right? So they get you to literally, you filled in paperwork for everything at the moment. And honestly, it's like paperwork after paperwork after paperwork. So what does it all cost? And that's what a lot of people are thinking. What does it all cost? Well, I'm going to show you the costs. And if I just flick back to this, I'm going to flick back to that there. Let me just, you can see a bit of the live stream, but that's all right. And right, so what does it cost? I'm going to show you everything. I'm going to show you almost everything. I'm not going to show you the bottom half of this because it's got my email address on there. But you can see here, so this is the Peter Morton receipt. And it was a 40-foot container. And what was the date on this? It should have been, when was it? In April. Okay, so that was the quotation, but we actually I think we signed it in May, I think it was, but we got the quotation come through. So we accepted it and everything else. But anyway, so we had the 40-foot container and that cost us £8,800. That included the guys turning up, doing all the packing, all the boxes, all the labeling, and it included them unpacking on the other end. It was basically a door-to-door service. And you go, cool, all right, £8,800, not cheap, but it's not too bad. However, it's not the end of the story because there's other costs that get added on. This is just the base quote. And so you look at that and you go, okay, cool, yeah, I can deal with that. You know, you're thinking to yourself, if you've got £8,000 worth of stuff, and it's costing you £8,000 to move it, maybe I'd take it, maybe I wouldn't, you know, but then the price starts to go up. But the thing is, if you're taking £8,000 of stuff, that will probably cost you in excess of 12, 13 grand to rebuy it in Cyprus because furniture is more expensive. All your electronics are more expensive. The white goods are more expensive. Everything's more expensive when you get to the island because you've got the island economy. Literally, you get to the island and it's like the island tax because everything's so scarce. You've got less than 1 million people on the island, so everything gets imported, everything goes up in price, which is why I say bring as much with you as you can. You might look at that and go, I don't want to spend £8,800, but it will cost you more to take your stuff. And a lot of people we've spoken to since they've arrived, they've all said, we wish we brought more stuff, right? So anyway, that's the insurance. What else? So then we had this next one, which this is just the estimate, but it doesn't matter because we had to pay it anyway. So this was then another thing that we had to pay. So €130 for customs examination and port storage, €198. Now this is interesting because when your container gets to, let me just go full screen a second. Let me just go. Okay. Right. When your container gets to the port, you get charged storage. So if it takes you a week for them to clear everything and to do everything, and you've got your appointment and everything else, you're paying for that container to sit in port for a week. Now, if you've got lithium batteries in your container and your container is deemed hazardous, there is some crazy amount, I can't remember what it was. It was something to the tune of like €100 a day in addition to this. So your port storage there, for us, it was like €198, whatever it was. For the few days it was. But if you had lithium in there, if you had a container that had lithium batteries in it, so let's say you were bringing an EV or a hybrid car, then all of a sudden your storage fees in the port are like an extra €100 a day. So all of a sudden that can mount up really quickly, especially if there's delays in processing and paperwork and everything else. You're paying like €100 a day just for your stuff to sit there. It was about €100. Like I say, don't quote me on that now because that was 2-3 years ago. That may have changed now. And that's why I say, like, when you speak to the removal companies and the shipping companies, there'll probably be another cost anyway. So just, you know, but something to bear in mind is there will be a cost. What else have we got? Let me just ship. Slip back to that one. Then we had, right, this is interesting. So actually, I'm going to come back to me on this one because, right, when you buy something from Amazon, you order whatever it might be, just something, doesn't matter, right? Whatever you buy from Amazon, it turns up on your doorstep. How would you feel if Amazon turned around to you and said, if the Amazon truck crashes or the van crashes on the way to your house, because it's delivering your stuff, you have to pay for the bill, you have to pay his insurance, you have to pay for the damage. You'd be, hang on a minute, no, that's your job to get my stuff there safely, right? Well, when you're doing marine shipping, this was news to me. When you're doing marine shipping, if you pay for a container and you fill that container and you put it onto a ship, if that ship has a problem, if that ship suffers any damage, if your container falls off that ship because the seas are rough, and if you've never seen it, go onto YouTube and have a look at shipping container fails, and you see all these containers just falling off into the sea and all these poor people's lives just sinking to the bottom of the ocean. If that ship drops your container in the sea, you're liable. So you have to pay insurance. You have to take insurance on that. Now, for me, that blew my mind, because I would expect that if I'm paying a shipping company to move my stuff, you would kind of hope that the service of getting it to where you want it to go to is kind of all inclusive, but it's not. So let me show you this. So then they give you a form and then more paperwork. Let me move this one across. You can see some of the stuff there that we brought. So this was literally everything that we had to put down on the proposals. This is the marine transit proposal form. You can kind of see it there. The iPad's doing this thing there. But anyway, you can kind of see it, right? So we then had to put down and like we had to just add it all up. And we were like, okay, we reckon with the car and everything else, it was about 38 grand's worth of stuff that we were taking, right? So we had to put that all on there. And then we had to pay insurance for it. And so then you go, there's another cost, right? So then let me just fire that up. So then you've got the insurance cost that goes on top of all of this. There's my tax invoice. There you go. Super marine insurance, because we went super. Restricted marine insurance. I actually don't know what that is now. I'm looking at that. Now it's making me panic from 3 years ago. Maybe I should have had super duper marine insurance. I don't know. Anyway, we paid £1,355 for that. So you paid £8,800 to the shipping company. You've then paid another £300 for the privilege of having your goods sit where it's going to. And then just in case they screw it up and it doesn't even arrive, you have to pay insurance as well. The whole lot cost us around 10.5 grand. It's probably a little bit more than that. You can do the maths. It cost us about 10.5 grand to move our stuff from the UK to Cyprus. And it took us about a month, in summary. There you go. That's the process in a nutshell. Now, what are the realities of all of this? What actually happens now? Because I want to just talk to you about some of this. So we were almost put the fear of death into us with customs, because Peter Morton was saying, if you've got anything that's new, if you bought anything new, open the box, make it look like it's not new, bash your box around a little bit, make it look secondhand, because you're not allowed to bring new stuff in. You can bring stuff from your life, but it can't be brand new. You can't have just bought it in a box, because they don't want you bringing in new goods. So, of course, we didn't buy lots of new things right before we left, just in case it was cheaper in the UK. And we certainly didn't open up any packages and repack it just so that we could have it cheaper. But something to be aware of. Apparently, customs were looking for that. So if you are bringing stuff, don't just do an Amazon shop right before you come and package it all up in the Amazon boxes. You're going to have to open it. You're going to have to make it look used, and you're going to have to put it in the container, a bit battered, a bit opened, almost a bit used, right? So that's what they were telling us, and that's what they were saying. And it was like, right, you need to make sure that you're not bringing anything new. And then the other thing, I'm just come back to my notes. So, excuse me. The other thing was then when we were getting to the other end. So in that picture where, actually, let me just flip back. Oh, no, not that one. Zooming in again. Right, let me just go back to the pictures. So in this picture, no, not that one. Not that one. No, we've arrived. No, not that one. That one. Right, in this picture, on the other side of these two lorries, there was a lady in a car. In fact, that might have been a car just there. And she turned up from Customs and Excise. And she's watching everything. And I thought she was going to be literally looking at all the boxes, opening the boxes and going, hang on a minute, that's new. You're being a tax evader, right? Honestly, there was stuff that was going across And if I'd have known this beforehand, I'd have been a lot more relaxed. The stuff that was going across from the van to the van, there was a couple of things where he's sitting there going, hope she doesn't check that box, right? Everybody does it. We were advised to do it, but there's a couple of things where you go, yeah, I really hope she doesn't check that box. Honestly, she didn't check any boxes. The only thing she was interested in was the car. It was crazy. She had zero interest in what went in the back of that van, like nothing. I could have imported all my alcohol, could have packed it with drugs. It didn't matter. I could have packed it with anything. She didn't check anything. It literally was just the car. That's all they were interested in. I don't know why Cyprus make it so difficult for the cars, but that's what they wanted to see. They wanted to see so much stuff for the car, and they didn't care about anything else. So the actual process of customs, well, let me just, I don't know, right. The actual process of customs actually ended up being really easy. So, well, at least at that point, you just sign your life away, you sign it, say, yep, that's all me. And she's cool. So like literally off she goes. She was there for, I don't know, maybe half an hour. Like I say, it was until, well, let's say half an hour. It was until she saw the car. Yeah. So it was a bit more than half an hour, probably an hour or so. But anyway, she turned up partway through, wasn't interested in the stuff at the back of the van. And then she saw the car, I signed some paperwork, off she went. So in summary, what went smoothly? Well, honestly, the way Peter Morton was with the car, with the moving stuff, it actually went really well. So he, actually I didn't explain this, so I'm bouncing around a little bit, but he rocked up at the start, and the way the whole process works is that they turn up to start with. When they give you that quote of £8,800, guy turns up, he has a look at all your stuff, and to be fair to him, he's pretty cool. He's clearly done this a lot, and he goes, yeah, that's going to fit in an X size container, and there's going to be X many boxes and all the rest of it. And you're like, okay, you kind of just go with it because he knows his job. And to be fair, he was accurate. Yeah, he was accurate in what he said. So he does all of that, and he turns up, and so the actual moving of stuff, for the most part, went really well. They turned up, like I say, we were a bit delayed in kind of packing. You don't appreciate how much stuff there is to pack up your entire life when you're moving house. It's just kind of one of those things. And so they helped us a lot with that. They got everything on the back of the lorry and everything else. There was a couple of things which I was a little bit miffed with, to be honest. The first one was my office monitor, my TV that I use as a monitor. Because when they come, and this is something that they probably don't tell you, when they come to your place, they are not always just, actually, sorry, let me just flip back to the live stream. I just want to make sure this is still on. I'm talking to myself. Right. So when they come, you see Peter Morton, or you probably see, actually, I can't say CSS because that would be unfair. I haven't experienced them personally, but with Peter Morton specifically, when they rock up, they've got the Peter Morton branded lorries and everything else. But the people doing the packing, some of them are subcontractors. They just hire people in for the day. And so the quality was different on day one versus day two because they've got different contractors, different subcontractors. So my TV, my office, to this day, I still have glue on the screen because they just literally wrapped it once with a piece of cardboard. The edges were exposed. And when they wrapped the sellotape around, or the packing tape, it was stuck down the side of the monitor and it was on the front of the screen. And I still have glue on my screen to this day. I cannot get it off. And I don't want to scratch it and everything else. I don't want to put too much pressure on the screen. So it's just there. It's a reminder of the fact that actually not everything was packed perfectly. We also had a lampshade broken and everything else, but it was like small things like that. And when you get to the other end anyway, they go through everything. They want you to go through everything, and you have to sign to say, yeah, there's no damage. There's like no damage on the car, no damage on everything else. And that alleviates them from anything after that. And if you open a box and you find out something's broken, it's kind of a bit too late. But anyway, that's kind of the way it works. So overall, the actual packing went quite smoothly. I'll be honest. I actually, the army of people on both ends, it was good. Like we would never have been able to do it. Me and my wife would be there for 2 weeks doing it if we were having to do it all. And that was, so the actual moving of stuff was good. The itemization was good. They were very anal about the batteries, and then they went and packed a huge lithium battery anyway, but all of that beside the point. It was good. Stuff arrived. For the most part, like 99.9% of everything was spot on. So can't grumble with that. What was stressful though? Honestly, I'm going to keep banging on about this car. So the car itself, that caused us a lot of grief. Because once we paid our last invoice to Peter Morton, that was it. Like, gone. Completely like washed the hands of us. Like literally that was it. Like it was just crickets. Didn't hear anything. So then we were the ones that were going to the customs, and we were the ones trying to get, say customs, it was like it was customs, yeah, customs and excise. So you have to get the car registered, and it has to be registered within a certain time frame. And if it's not registered, because when you bring a car to the island, you can only bring it for a period of time. And so you can bring it, I think you can import a car for 6 months on almost like a visitor's permit, and then it has to leave the country. So after the first 6 months, so from September when it arrives, September the 1st through to whatever 6 months is after that, you have to get the car registered. Now, we weren't getting the car registered because we'd kind of gone back and forth. We'd done various things and we needed residency. And there was, again, this is Cyprus paperwork. We can come on to this in a later video. But you get to the 6 months and they then actually called me, which I was really impressed with. This is the Cypriot. I was impressed with the Cypriot side, not the Peter Morton side. So HMRC, Customs and Excise, the equivalent of like your HMRC, actually called me up. And they were like, hey, is that Mr. Townend? Yep, it's Mr. Townend. We're just calling you to let you know that your car is coming up for the end of the 6 months. Would you like to extend it? Yes, I would. Thank you very much. So then they invited me in. They said, bring the paperwork, did this, stampy, stampy, stamp, and off you go. And it was super easy. But the fact that they even called me, like, I'm blown away by it. You've got like a government agency. I could not imagine any government agency in the UK calling you unless you owe them money, in which case they'll hound you. But these guys are like, no, just calling you. It's a courtesy call. Just to let you know the car's coming up for renewal. You need to get it stamped and be extended. And it kept being extended and extended and extended. That wasn't a problem. As long as you had the extension, if you were to get pulled over by the police, then you wouldn't get the car taken off you because it was legal, right? So anyway, we kept having to do these extensions. And that was multiple trips back and forth to customs. And all of this time, it's just on us, right? So at this point, like I said, Peter Morton, like, long gone. Now, what I will say is, for those of you contemplating whether to use Peter Morton or CSS, that's the other one that comes up a lot. When we were looking to choose between the two, we had an interview with CSS, just a consultation. And when we were talking to Andrea, there was nothing wrong, nothing wrong at all. Just for whatever reason, and I guess it's the same reason people like watching this now, people watching me. Some of you will like me, some of you won't. There are those of you that have stayed on to watch me. I'm probably not grating on you too much, so you listen and so on and so forth. And so when I was speaking to Andrea and when I was speaking to Peter Morton and the two companies, for whatever reason, I just felt more comfortable with Peter Morton. It wasn't that CSS had done anything wrong. They hadn't. I just, for whatever reason, felt more comfortable with Peter Morton. It's really hard to explain. It felt like a bigger company. It felt like CSS were a little bit smaller. And because it was the first time I'd moved country and moving all of this stuff, I'm like, I'll probably just go with Peter Morton because that's what loads of people online recommended. Now, why am I telling you this now? Because Peter Morton left us high and dry and we didn't get any then help with the car and it was all on us. While we were going back and forth to customs, I saw Andrea in customs with her clients sorting stuff out, presumably for the cars. Now, I thought that was awesome. I thought that was really awesome. I was fair play. And at that point, I was like, damn it, should have gone with CSS. That's how I felt in the moment. Now, I don't know Andrea. She's never met me. I've never met her. Well, just when we spoke on the call, she won't remember me. If she ever watches this, she won't remember who I am. And that's fine. But because she is quite prominent online and her shipping company comes up, I would give it a go. If you're torn between the two and you're moving cars, like I say, she was seemingly very helpful to people that I'd never met. And I was like, cool, because at that point in time, we were then just going round in circles and circles and circles to the point where I paid a second guy. I actually can't remember where I got this guy's contacts from, but in Cyprus, quite often it's not what you know, it's who you know. So I paid a second guy to help us get the car registered, to help get it on the Cypriot plates and everything else. And I think I paid him about 150 euros for his service because he was a guy in the DVLA. And it was kind of one of these moments where I got put in touch with him and you start going through the process. And I didn't understand the process. I didn't understand what he was doing. He was saying, I needed to pay this and this. And I was saying, okay, but I've been reading online. Do I just fill in this form? And he was like, a little bit agitated. He was like, you can fill in the form and then you can go and join that queue over there. And then you can go and do this, 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 and this. Or I can just do it for you. And I was like, okay. So it's a backhander. So my 150 euro backhander went into this guy's pocket and he fast-tracked me. And it got everything sorted out. He called up another guy in Paphos. My number plates were sorted. He's like, yep, just drive down there. Sorted out, drive down. The guy fitted the number plates, all sorted. Then sorted with the MOT as well. All of that got sorted. Just because I was talking to this guy, he was super helpful. I've still got his details. But it was like, literally, if I'm bringing the car now, I will just go to this guy because he just helped me bring it in. And I was super grateful because honestly, we were just left going, what do we do? Just going round in circles, round and round and round. So that's probably the most stressful bit of the whole move, to be honest. It was just like, what do we do once the stuff's there? What do we do? What would I do differently next time? Well, next time, hopefully there won't be a next time. I've got M&O in my head now. Next time, or if I was to do this again, if you're doing this, what would I recommend? Bring as much as you can. Bring as much as you can. And I don't mean hoard stuff. I just mean I see loads of posts online. People are saying, what should I bring to Cyprus? Bring as much as you can. Because everything's more expensive here, pretty much. Like, if you're bringing white goods, if you're setting a house up, if you're bringing beds, furniture, mattresses, settees, everything's more expensive here. So bring it. Pay for the container. Bring the stuff with you. And just bring as much as you can. Because the other thing, when you're bringing the car, and this is interesting as well, I didn't mention this, when you're bringing the car, so the car goes on first, you can fill the car with stuff. So you can fill the boots, you can fill the back seats, you can fill the front seats, you can fill it with a load of stuff. So if you've got a big car, you've got a big 4x4, you can just pack it. So you can pack the car with stuff. Then it goes on. Then the wall comes up. And then you can pack the trailer, pack the container with more stuff. So there we go. That's what I would recommend. Now, hopefully that's been useful. So if you have found it useful, I'm just going to go on to this again. If you have found it useful, I'd really appreciate you give it a like and a share. We are going to go on to questions in just a moment, but I'm just going to leave this on the screen. I can see a few questions coming through already, so that's good. I'm going to go on to that. But yeah, if you have found this useful whatsoever, just like it, share it, tell people about it. That would help me out a lot because, like I say, I'm trying to build the channel that didn't exist. When I moved to Cyprus, there was nobody showing what life was really like. And so I'm documenting it now for the rest of us. Hopefully people get benefit from it. But anyway, that's me. So now what we can do is we can go on to some questions. So let's do that. What have we got? We've got first one. Come on, people, hit the like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. We've now got, so from Alex, we've got, hi Mark, when you say each box needs to be itemized, silly question, but literally item by item with a value of each. We've just packed our house, so that may be unpacking some boxes. Right. No, so it's not a value of each item, although when you get to customs, they're going to want to know what you packed because they'll then start looking at values of items. But no, for the shipping, you just need to know what's in each box. And it's just a case of, it's not literally every single item, but it was quite detailed, to be fair. It was sort of like, kitchen cutlery, glasses, appliances, whatever it might be. So it was quite detailed. Unfortunately, they keep all the packing, like the receipts and everything. Otherwise, I'd have shown you tonight. I had a look through my emails to see if I had any. I didn't. Otherwise, I'd have shown it and I'd have put it on there. But no, it's quite detailed. So what I would say is if you've packed up all your own boxes and you don't know what's in them, then highly likely you're going to have to open them up, have a look, close them, because what will happen is then they'll write a number on them and that number will go onto a bit of paper and it'll be like box number 71 and it'll be like a list of the things that are in it. So if you don't know what's in your boxes, then you're probably going to have to open it up. But the thing is, you want to for your benefit, because when you get out on the other end, when you get out on the Cypriot end, if you're wanting something, like you've not had anything for a month and you're waiting for your stuff to turn up and you're like, aha, and you're like, I want this, and it's in box 17, then rather than trying to open every box and find the thing you want, you're right, where's box 17? And you look for it and you open it, like, yes, got it. Hopefully that answers the question. Lee Clark, so was thinking of buying an electric bike before we come over. Not now. Those batteries would be fun to pack in your luggage. Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Because they are lithium batteries, and yeah, the scooters can be a bit of a pain. What I would say there, I don't know how the scooters work, if the batteries are detachable or not. If they are not, you're going to struggle. But you can buy the scooters here on the island. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but the Xiaomi ones are reasonably priced. They're similar price to other parts of Europe. In fact, actually, what you'll find, Xiaomi, which is XIAOMI, but Xiaomi, they sell stuff on the island that typically you don't get back in the UK. So, like, for instance, my robot vacuum cleaner, I can't get that one back in the UK. And so the prices out here for things like Xiaomi goods, they're not crazy expensive, compared to what you might expect if you were trying to buy the same thing in England, because in England it's imported. If you buy it in mainland Europe, it's probably a bit cheaper. But for the most part, if you were looking for an electric scooter like a Xiaomi scooter, you'd be all right. But have a look for a detachable battery. If they're not detachable, yeah, you're not going to pack a scooter in your suitcase. What I would say though is just look at the prices of them before you come, and that'll help you decide. But yeah, I mean, it's going to increase your shipping costs. It's going to increase the insurance. It's going to increase the stay on the other side. So yeah, if you're just bringing a scooter, probably not worth it. If you're bringing a big electric or a hybrid car, probably is worth it, because a hybrid car, an electric car out in the UK, it's going to be cheaper than England. From Alex again, we've got, does all your stuff have to arrive within 12 months of your arrival date? Yes, it does. Now, for those of you wondering, the ships aren't that slow. It's not about your ship sets off and hopefully it arrives within 12 months. No. What that is, you have 12 months to bring anything that you're bringing from the UK as part of your transfer of residency. So for us, we packed our container, we sent it over, it arrived in a month. We then had a further, like, I know what it was, like however many months remaining to bring extra stuff. Now, we were contemplating at that point buying a washing machine, having it used in the UK, and then bringing it in. Because the one that our landlord gave us, it was rubbish. It was like this 6 kilo thing. It was crap. It was small. It bounced everywhere. It was crap. But anyway, we contemplated bringing our own washing machine in. We didn't in the end. That's one of our regrets. Wish we did. Wish we'd brought the white goods in, because actually the white goods would have brought in would have been better than what we're getting in these rented houses. But it is what it is. So yes, if you are looking to do a 2-part ship, let's say you just want to move first, maybe you want to try it for a few months first, and then you want to ship the stuff, you can delay it. You don't have to bring it straight away, but all the same procedure will apply. You're saying 12 months. I thought it was 6. So you'd have to check that. I thought you had to do it within 6 months of arrival, not 12. Just double check that. I'm not 100% sure. I don't want to steer you wrong, but just double check it. But yes, there is a time period in which you can bring stuff extra. You don't have to bring it like the moment you move. Okay, well, questions coming in thick and fast. What have we got? We've got from Michael. Hi, Mark. If planning to rent, are most of the rentals furnished or unfurnished? If furnished, I guess you don't want to take too much furniture. Yes, good question. It's a mix. Some people will only want to rent furnished places. So some of our friends purposely rented furnished places because they were looking to just buy new stuff over here. Now, if you've got stuff, what you'll probably find is your stuff's probably nicer than the landlord's anyway, because a lot of the stuff out here it's old. It's old, it's tired, and they leave it in there because they don't want to get rid of it. So even some of the houses we were looking to rent, when it was furnished, we were like, well, can the landlord take some stuff out? And they were like, well, not really, but if you want to bring your own bed, because we had a thing, we wanted to use our own bed. I'm a big guy. I wanted to use our bed. I've got a super king size bed, and I don't want a tiddly like a double bed. I'm tall. I'm 6'4", so I wanted a big bed. We have a big bed. I've had a big bed for nearly a decade, and I didn't want to rent a place with a little double bed. So I was like, I'm going to bring my own bed. Plus, from a hygiene point of view, I want my own mattress. I don't want to be sleeping on somebody's mattress that's been rented out for the last 15 years and the springs are all shonky and bent. So we brought our own stuff. But when we wanted to put stuff into a house, one of the houses we looked at that was furnished, they were like, well, you can kind of put it downstairs in one of the spare rooms. And I was like, well, then it's not a room that we can use, is it? Because it's got all your bloody furniture in it. So some of the houses are furnished, some of them are unfurnished. It just depends. Have a look at it. If you're setting criteria, you can specifically say to the people, or you can set your own criteria and say, I only want a furnished house, or I only want an unfurnished house. But the thing is, if you're ever looking to bring your own stuff, or you ever want your own stuff, you're better off to bring it. And if you've got, what we'd say is, if you've got stuff now and it's in your house and you're happy with it, just look at the value of it and have a look at some of the Cypriot websites, because you'll find it be more expensive to replace it. But for me personally, I like my own stuff. I like my own settee. I don't like to be given what's just there. I like things to be comfortable. And, like my office chair, things like that, all the stuff that I brought from the UK, it was because I've kind of accumulated it over the years. And I was like, I'm happy with it. So we wanted unfurnished. A furnished property was actually more of an inconvenience to us, because yeah, it was just we didn't have anywhere to then put stuff. Hopefully that answers the question anyway. What else we got? We got from Carbon Unit 1616, is using half a container a lot less money than a full container? Well, so there's different ways of doing this. You could have a shared container. So let's say you didn't mind it being a mix of your stuff and somebody else's, then that's definitely cheaper. We paid extra to have our own container for us. You can have a shared container for sure, and that is cheaper. And I believe you can just get a 20-foot container. You don't need a 40-foot. We had 40-foot for the car. We had the car in the front and then the stuff in the back, or 2 cars, stuff in the back. So it is cheaper, yes, if you share a container. What's the disadvantage of sharing a container? I'll be honest, I'm not sure, because my assumption is, and we didn't do this because we wouldn't have been able to share a container anyway because of the car. But my assumption is that, let's say you share a container, they'll probably stick you in a 40-foot container, which means they're probably going to build a wall between your stuff. So there's no cross-contamination of, like, does your stuff get mixed up, or at least it shouldn't. If they pack lithium batteries, that might, if they secretly hide lithium batteries in there and it blows up, then your stuff blows up with it, and that'd be a shame. But no, like, realistically, I think what would probably happen on the other end, so you imagine your stuff's in the front of the container, then they build a wall, and you got the stuff in the back. My assumption here is that, let's say the people in the back, let's say the family in the back who's brought a load of stuff, for whatever reason, things are delayed, their paperwork's not going through, whatever, and that container ends up being sat there. Your stuff's stuck. So can they get your stuff out without theirs? No. Can they break the seal? Not sure. So you can definitely do it cheaper, but it would be a question for the shipping company, because they might be able to just put you in a 20-foot container and then you've got your own container anyway. And if you haven't got that much stuff, maybe you can get a smaller container. I don't know. It'd be a question for the shipping companies, but hopefully that's given you a little bit of a steer anyway. From Dan Technic, hi Mark, great live video and very informative. Thanks very much. I saw another YouTube video that mentioned because the car is imported from a non-EU country that you pay more in Cyprus road tax. Yes and no. So it's not to do with the car coming from another EU country or not an EU country. If you are bringing a car that is, let's just call it old, right? If you're bringing an old car, and when I say old, I'm not meaning to offend anybody here, because I like old cars. Like, for instance, if I wanted to bring in one of my favorite cars, a Jaguar XKR, if I wanted to bring that into Cyprus, that's classed as, I think it's a Euro 4 engine, right? I think it's Euro 4. Anything Euro 4 and below, you end up paying this crazy high tax penalty, especially with diesels, because it goes on the emissions. So you end up paying this fee where the road tax is crazy expensive when you bring it in. So Peter Morton advised us, bring in a Euro 5 or a Euro 6 car, and then your road tax is less. Now, our annual tax is a lot less. So, well, I say a lot less, that's a lie. Our annual tax, because both of our cars have got quite big engines, so one of them's a 3.5 litre, the other one's a 3 litre. One's a 3.5 litre twin turbo petrol, the other one is a 3 litre twin turbo diesel. Now, the diesel is a Euro 5 and my petrol car is a Euro 6. The road tax for both of them combined, from what I recall, and I've actually got to do another video on this, because it is what we are now, 18th of Jan, and road tax is due now in Cyprus. It was basically 1st of January, it's due, and you've got till about March to pay it, and everybody's road tax is due at the same time. So I need to pay it, actually. I've reminded myself by talking to you. So I need to pay that, and I'll do a video on it, and I can show the process and stuff. But anyway, so we pay the road tax for both cars combined. It was less than €1,000, right? You can, if you get an old diesel, let's say you've got an old big engine diesel, let's say you've got like an Audi A6 3 litre turbo diesel from 2008, something like that. I like that car. I don't see anything wrong with it. I have no problem with cars of that age. I like older cars. But if you brought that in, the emissions would be a lot higher. You'll end up paying a one-time penalty of something like, depending on the emissions, it can be up to, I think it's capped at like €2,000. So it can be very expensive. What I would say is, when you're talking to the shipping companies, they can give you a quote on how much it would cost to bring. And if you're not at the stage of moving yet and you're thinking of buying a car to take out to Cyprus and you're worried about the tax, speak to them first, because they'll help you do it. They'll help you go through it. The other thing is that you can go online and the Cypriot government websites, they will tell you the tax. And what I would say is if you're not sure, you can run it, take the link of the government website, you can run it through like ChatGPT or something, and it'll give you an idea as well. But yeah, there are penalties. If your car is older, if the emissions are higher, there is a penalty for the road tax, and it can make older cars that you've imported quite undesirable. But that's not to do with it being EU or not EU. It's just to do with the age of the car and the emissions. Hopefully that answers the question. What else we got? We've got from Andrew Oliver. We have a BMW X5 3 litre diesel, 8 years old with 36,000 miles. Would you recommend bringing that car over rather than buying a car in Cyprus? Is it worth the hassle? It's 8 years old. So that's what, 2018? Is my maths right? I don't know. 2018? Yeah, it must be. just gone to 2026. 100% bring it. If you've got a car that you've owned if you've owned it for more than 6 months, and actually, let me just talk to you about this. So if you've owned your car for more than 6 months, if you've left the country, let me backpedal. If you've owned your car for 6 months and it just squeezes in for the Cypriot tax and everything else, so you can actually bring it in, you have to have owned it for more than 6 months. In that 6 month period, if you went away on holiday and you went away for a week or two, that's 6 months, but you need to be in the country. And a lot of people don't realize this. You need to be in the country for that 6 months. If you're away for a week, that's actually 6 months minus a week, and that can fall foul. So we knew somebody that fell foul of the import duty because of something like that, and it tripped them up by a couple of days into that 6 month period. They thought they were clear and they weren't. They had to pay the import duty. But for your car, assuming you've had it for more than 6 months, let's say you had it for a year. If it's 36,000 miles, you like the car, you know the car, 100% bring it, because you know the history of the car. You'll come out to Cyprus. I've seen cars described as excellent condition, and one of the cars we looked at, I sent a third-party company over to go and check it because it was a 2-hour drive away, and I didn't want to drive over there to check it. So I sent a company over. I figured you've got an external third-party company. They speak Greek. They're not going to say, no, I'm an English buyer. They're just going to speak Greek. They're not going to be able to fob them off like they could me. And so they went over. This car was described as in excellent condition, and it looked like Wolverine being in the back seats. I do not know how excellent condition translates to ripped, shredded, folded over leather that was conveniently left out of the photos, right? Bring your car. If you can bring the car, it's that new, and so that new's 8 years old, you got that low mileage, bring it. What you'll probably find is that when you sell it on the other end, you'll probably get what you paid for it, if not more. You'll get the market value it is now. Anyway, you won't lose money by bringing it. To that point, if you do bring it, you will not be able to sell it for 3 years after the registration. So you take it through customs. If it's taken, like for us, we had several extensions, as I was mentioning earlier. If you've had several extensions, then if that takes a year worth of extensions and then you get it transferred over, you've effectively had the car in the country. At that point, it'll be for 4 years because you can't sell it for 3 years without having to pay back the VAT and the duty. Now, that's not a problem unless you're somebody like me, because I don't like being told what to do. So the moment they said, you can't sell your car for 3 years, even though I had no intention of selling my car, even though I don't sell my cars generally that often, I like to keep my cars and I keep them and look after them and use them for a while. Because somebody told me I couldn't sell it, I was like, I want to sell it. I was like, I can't explain it. But anyway, just bearing it in mind, if you do bring it, it will be cheaper. It'll be better than probably anything you buy on the island. And you'll probably get money, or you'll probably get good money. Well, you will definitely get good money for it when you sell it, because the mileage will be a lot less than what you get on the island. Go to Bazaraki. Bazaraki is a B-A-Z-A-R, Bazaraki, B-A-Z-A-R-A-K-I or something like that. Google it anyway. Just type Bazaraki, Cyprus. Not now because you're watching me. Go to that in a minute. Bazaraki, Cyprus. Have a look on there. Have a look at used cars and motors, and you will see the cars that are for sale. You'll see the mileage on them, how high it is. You'll see the condition of them, and it'll just convince you. Just bring your car, right? So hopefully that answers the question. If the message is subliminal, bring your car. Right. What else have we got? We've got lithium batteries. Oh, sorry. So this is from Dipnash. Okay, the lithium batteries need to travel as hand luggage on a plane, don't they? Yes, they do. Unless you pay for the extra marine insurance and the extra storage on the other end. So if you're bringing in an electric car, for instance, you can't put the electric car in your hand luggage. You can't even take it on the plane. So that would go in the container and you'd pay all the extra charges for that. But yeah, if you're bringing in like power tools, so like we had like the Ryobi power tools, you would have to take the battery off and you would have to put the big chunky batteries into your hand luggage. If you've got watches, if you've got stuff like this, like my rechargeable microphones, yeah, all of this is lithium batteries. Now, if the airlines got really funny about it, you're only allowed something like 15 lithium batteries. I think 15 or 18, I can't remember. It'll be different per airline anyway, so don't even quote me on that. Check it. If you go with Ryanair or somebody, it's probably like, 2. But anyway, have a look at what you can bring. But yes, everything adds up. So for instance, if I was to bring these things, right? So I've got my AirPods and I've got my wireless microphones. If I was to bring these as part of my moving abroad, so this case has a battery in it. I've got 2 mics. So that's 3 batteries. So there's 3 batteries there. This AirPod case is a battery and it would have 2 AirPods in it if I wasn't wearing them. So with these 2 things alone, I've got 6 batteries that I'd be bringing in my case. And so all of a sudden it fills up really quickly. And it's amazing how many lithium batteries you end up with. Your laptops, your iPads, your Nintendos, like I say, the alarm system. When we brought the alarm system, we ended up having to, any batteries that we could pull out and rebuy on the other end, we were pulling out and then rebuying them in Cyprus. So it's nuts. So in fact, we had friends helping us the night before we were moving, and literally we're opening up all my alarms and literally we're ripping all the batteries out. And I got this stack of flipping lithium batteries, like little, like 10p or the size of a 10p coin. And I got stacks of these lithium batteries that I couldn't do anything with. So anyway, that's that. But yeah, you do have to put them in your hand luggage typically, and you just need to be aware of the quantities. Did you bring any new electrical equipment, e.g. TVs, etc., from Andrew Oliver as well? So we didn't bring new equipment like TVs. We brought our existing TVs. We did take some stuff for the kitchen. Nothing massive actually. Like I'm smiling like it was a big thing, like a George Foreman grill, only because ours was a bit tired. Yeah, so our one was a bit tired, so we replaced it. We upgraded it. Things like that. We replaced and upgraded before we moved. The TVs and stuff like that. If you're going to buy something new, that's fine. Take it out of the box. Turn it on, just take it out of the box, and then your shipping company will come along, they'll wrap it in bubble wrap, and it won't be a problem. So again, things like TVs and stuff like that, it's all going to be cheaper off the island. For the most part, it's going to be cheaper off the island. So if you are looking to upgrade your stuff, that's fine. Just don't ship it in the box, because you might find that your customs officer, if you don't have a car, gets interested in all the stuff in your trailer or in the back of the container, and then you might have a problem. So I wouldn't recommend it. I would just say take it out of the box. Then it's technically used, because what they're looking at is that you're not bringing in loads of stuff to then resell. So this is why, if you're bringing it in to resell it anyway, then you're doing something wrong. You're doing something a bit dodgy. If you're bringing something in to save a couple of quid because you're going to use it and it's for your own personal use, I didn't feel too bad about that. But it's what they're trying to stop is you bringing stuff in and then trying to make a profit on the other end, because it's all going to be more expensive on the other end. You can bring it all in, sell it, and make a profit, and that's what they don't want. So it's going to be much harder for you to sell a TV out of its box, for instance, because then it's secondhand. And that's what they want. They just want you to have secondhand stuff. Hopefully that answers the question anyway. What we got? We've got from Andrew Oliver, we've got, what happens if you are under a temporary visa renting in Cyprus while waiting for a new build to be completed? If this takes 18 months, are you still able to bring things over at that point? No, because I can't remember the exact time frame. Like I mentioned earlier, it was either 6 or 12 months, but they will be very strict. So you're going to need to bring it over and just get it into storage. You don't want to be waiting for your house to be built. They won't care. Because, like I say, when we passed that threshold, there was a big part of me that was really kind of regretted not buying a new washing machine and then bringing it with us. So if you're building a house, if you're renting accommodation now, you're probably renting something that's furnished and you've got a load of stuff that you want to bring and you're waiting for your house to be built 18 months down the line. If you're going to bring stuff, you're going to have to bring it and put it into storage. There's storage places on the island, nowhere near as many as what you've got in the UK. You don't have the self-storage facilities like you've got in the UK, but there are storage places, even like places like Peter Morton, probably CSS as well. You can bring stuff over, they'll ship it, and you can just leave it in their warehouse, you see? So you can leave it and store it there. There's like another part of the warehouse it can go to. So again, talk to the shipping companies about what their storage costs would be, because that's probably the easiest option. What you don't want to have to do is probably ship stuff over, Then you do all the customs thing and all the rest of it. And then you unpack it, it goes into a storage container, and then you wait for your house, and then you take it from there. I mean, check the price, of course, because Peter Morton won't be cheaper than that. That's going to be the cheapest way of doing it, but it's obviously more hassle for you on the other end. Hopefully that helps anyway. What else we got? We've got from Alex. Peter Morton just quoted us 7,900 for half of a 40-foot container shared with another family. There's a chance the other people's situation can impact you. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. His prices have gone up, that's for sure. If he's charging 7,900, you've seen my price on that, 8,800 for a 40-foot container. So that's quite a lot more expensive. But yeah, like I say, if my assumption is, because I never shared, my assumption is that if your stuff goes in the front of the container, their stuff goes in the back. If there's any kind of delay, then you are going to be stuck. You're just waiting, right? You kind of lose control of it. Andrew Oliver, thanks. No problem. More than welcome. Happy to help. Alex Lass, have you come across any groups for new arrivals that can help meet people, share info, etc.? Alex, don't know what you mean. Just be a little bit more specific with the question. I'm not sure what you mean. If you can just add a bit more detail. Do you mean like expat groups? Do you mean business groups? Do you mean for shipping? Do you mean for sports, making friends? Just be a little bit more specific. While you're doing that, I'm going to grab some water. I'm just going to be a second. But yeah, if you could just be a bit more specific, I'll happily answer that question. Sorry if you can hear me swallow. All right. Just wait for that to come through. So there's no more questions. While we are waiting for some clarification and some more questions to come through, hopefully that is being useful so far. I'm going to pull this back up. It's almost subliminal still. Could give it a like and share. If you're finding this useful, if you're finding these sessions useful, any feedback's always good. I'm trying to help as many people as I can. I'm trying to get as much of this out there as I can. So yeah, by all means, if you could give it a like and share, that'd be awesome. Also subscribe, because people that are watching this, there's quite a few of you watching that aren't subscribed. I'm not saying necessarily you people on the call, but for people watching this, what I'm seeing is still about 30% of my viewers are not, 30% of my viewers are subscribed. The other 60% aren't, or the other 60, 70% aren't subscribed. So yeah. Okay, let's just bring it back. What do we have? Any clarification? Have you come across? No. I think we're still live. Might be talking to myself. YouTube might have cut off and just not told me. Everything says we're still live. Right, so here we go. Right, social groups, meetup. When we moved to Canada, there was a group for newcomers that spanned a number of areas of interest. Cool, right. So yes, there are. There's lots of various groups. What I would say is, though, you're best off looking on Facebook for them, because people will talk on there. So as an example, there's a group on there. It's like a business entrepreneurs networking group that I went to. So when I first came to the island in 2022 for that, for the trial living, I went out to one, and it was called Blunches. And they meet every Saturday at Meraki. And this is in Paphos, by the way. They meet every Saturday, and met a great group of guys there. Met Jonas, the guy that was running it, met some people that I kept in touch with, and incidentally it was people from that meetup that then helped me and put me in touch with some people that then found me the first villa. I said it came from a recommendation. So we found that online, and you'll find there's lots of Facebook groups of people wanting to meet up. The other thing as well is that when you get on the island, and obviously this takes a little bit of time because you get to know people, but you end up like swapping numbers with people. I'm in a number of Facebook groups now where, we've got like a beach meetup group. We've got like a kind of a go out of the weekend meetup group. And we've got various meetup groups where it's just like people we keep adding people into it. I've got a paddle tennis group that I'm in with, a few of my friends, and people keep getting added into it because then you can just meet up and link up and socialize and everything else. So yeah, there are definitely groups, and there are places you can meet up for sure. There's definitely groups of people that do it. If you're not coming to Paphos, if you're going to Larnaca, I know, in fact, actually there was, let me just think, there was a Telegram group that I was a part of a long time ago. This was back in 2022, where it was like Larnaca meetups and stuff. So have a look on Telegram as well. If you ever use Telegram, if you don't know what Telegram is, it's like WhatsApp. It's a messaging service on your phone. But there were a whole bunch of Telegram groups that I used to be a part of, but then I pulled out of them because they were all Larnaca based, and we decided on Paphos. But yeah, Facebook, check your Facebook groups, have a look for people on there. There'll definitely be meetups happening. The other one is Telegram, but also don't be afraid to put yourself out there and go, hey, I'm on my own, or we've just moved out. Would anybody like to meet up for a coffee? Because what I'm finding, and what you'll find, is that when you talk to people on the island and when you put yourself out there on the island, strangers seem to be more willing to meet up, and you can just meet up and chat. Like, for instance, when we play paddle tennis, as an example, we sign up on an app and we can start the app, and literally you need 4 people to play paddle tennis, right? We don't. You can play it with 2, but you need 4 people. So let's say tonight I wanted to go out and play paddle tennis. Well, probably not tonight now because it's 10:15. It'll probably still work tonight. I can go into the app and I can book a court down the local area, down like Coral Bay or wherever, pay up, doesn't matter. I can book a court. And then it's just an open game. People can choose to join the game. And then you'll end up meeting people that you've never met before. They can see your experience level and everything else. They can just join the game, and then they can come and play, and then you make friends that way. So I've made some of my friends through paddle tennis, people I'd never met before until we started playing games. So there's lots of different ways to meet people. But what I will say is that is one of the things, actually. So this is a long answer to the question. But what I found was when we came out here, what you realize is that making friends as an adult is good in a way. It's good when you move to the island because you kind of get to choose who you want to meet. You get to meet lots of like-minded people and everything else. But it's also a little bit tricky because you've got to put yourself out there. People aren't just going to come to you. It's when you're living in these villas or wherever. It's not like you've got a community of people. You're not going to bump into your neighbours very often. Depending on where you live. And so what you find is that you have to be proactive in order to make friends, because you could very easily come out here and you could be quite isolated and you end up not meeting anybody because you don't put yourself out there. So put yourself out there. You just take a chance, go onto a group. I see like mums on there saying, hey, would anybody like a play date with the kids? Just try it. It's a lot safer here than it is in the UK. In the UK, you would never really do that. Out here, it seems to be a lot more acceptable. So have a look online, like I say. So just in summary, Facebook groups, Telegram groups, put yourself out there, ask some questions. There's definitely brunches as well if you're into like a business entrepreneurial thing in Paphos. If you're in Limassol, Larnaca, not sure. You just have to check local groups. Hopefully that gives you a bit of a steer anyway. What else we got? Thanks, Mark. Great session. No worries. You're more than welcome, Alex. Cool. Right. Well, what time are we on? 10:20 nearly. That's cool. Does anybody have any more questions? I'm happy to hang around. We've still got 17 people online, which is nice. Thanks very much for hanging around. Appreciate you guys. I will just go back to this while we wait. If anybody wants to ask any more questions, please do feel free. I will stay on and answer you as many questions as I can. If nobody wants to ask any questions, then I can let you all go. But I'll come back to this. Like I say, if anybody wants to ask, feel free. I'll just give it a second or two for things to come through. I'm amazed at 18 people on that. People are still joining. Who joined? I'm interested. Who joined at 10:20? Who thought, I'm going to join at 10:20, an hour and 20 minutes after it started? Fair play to you. Thank you very much. Say hello. I want to say hello back. Oh, no. Down 17. Now I've offended somebody. Anyway. Right. There's nothing else coming through. So hopefully that's been helpful, guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I will be back next week. I'll be in my own office next week. For those of you that were interested, by the way, people wondering why I'm in this place 12 minutes away from home. It's just because when I was doing my wife's 40th over the Christmas period, we would normally kind of set the strategy up for the year. We'd set the goals for the year and everything else. And because I was so focused on my wife's birthday, that didn't happen. And so I've been away since Friday just to come out here and just strategize and just work. So I literally been working in the hotel all weekend and going back tomorrow. And it probably sounds really weird for some of you guys, but it's not weird for me because I just need to set my life up and, plan the life. And end of the day, you got to make things happen, right? So that's what I'm doing. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm in the hotel. 12 minutes from home, I might add. Anyway, that's it. What else we got? We've got It's All Fire Stick TV out there. Sorry, hang on a minute. There is another question. 1 second. From Lee Clark. Is It All Fire Stick TV out there? I'm going to assume you mean, does the Fire Stick TV work out here, or can you buy them out here? I don't know which one. I'm going to assume both. I'm just going to answer both. Can you buy Fire Sticks out here? I don't know, actually. I have a look. Go to, right, there's a few places you can go to. Have a look on Bionic. So if you type Bionic Cyprus, that's an online shop out here. It's a shop out here. If you have a look at Electroline Cyprus, have a look there. The other one is Public. Have a look at Public Cyprus as well. And you'll see what electronics there are. You see the prices as well. Have a look on there. I don't know if you can buy them here because we didn't buy anything out here. I typically will buy that stuff when I come back to the UK. So we recently bought an Apple TV in the UK and then used it and brought it back. So yes, I don't know if you can buy them out here. I don't see why you can't, but then thinking about it, Amazon's not really a thing on the island, so maybe you can't. Have a look. I'll be interested. Maybe you can put it in the comments after the video as well, because I actually don't know. I'm interested now. Maybe I'll do it. But anyway, the other part of the question, just in case this is what you're asking, will it work out here? Yeah, it works out here because we brought ours with us from the UK. And the services will be very much dependent on the location. And so if you are, if you want to watch British programs, then what you'll find is you'll need to put a VPN on it, and then you can tune back into BBC and everything else. If you're watching Netflix, you want to watch the English version of Netflix, you can put a VPN on it. If you want to watch American Netflix, then again, you just change your VPN to be America, but it all works on the Fire Stick, no problem at all. So yeah, hopefully that answers part of the question anyway. What we've got? Thanks for the great talk. No worries. Thank you for tuning in. Much appreciated. And we've got another question. Can you quickly explain the rule of bringing a car less than 5 years old, please? Is it beneficial? Okay. Bringing a car less than 5 years. So the rule, right, okay. A little bit of history here then. Cyprus at one point had the reputation for having the oldest cars or the oldest and most polluting cars in Europe. And as a result of trying to clean up that act, they decided to ban importing cars that are more than 5 years old. So right now in 2026, if you want to bring a car in, it technically would need to be from 2022. It needs to be quite new. If you want to bring something older, so let's say you want to bring something now from 2020, I don't see that as an old car personally. 2020 is still a new car to me, or newish, So I don't see 2020 vehicles as old cars. Cyprus does. So if you wanted to bring something from 2020, then you can't unless you're transferring it via residency, which is why customers get so interested in, are you bringing it? Because they'll get interested in the 6-month period for a start. If you've owned it for less than 6 months, you can still bring it. So let's say you were moving to Cyprus tomorrow, you could still go and buy a car and you could bring it. But because you've owned it for less than 6 months, you'd have to pay the VAT, you'd have to pay the duty. But you could still bring it if it was less than 5 years old. So if you're wanting to bring a car in, and actually this is something that I was going to do a video on this. Well, I'll talk to you about it now anyway. I can always repeat it again for other people in the future. So if you want to bring a car that's more than 5 years old, do it as part of your transfer of residency. And that's the only way you can do it, unless you get to, I think it's 30 years. If you've got a car that's 30 years old, then it falls under the classic car rules, and you can then import that. And there's then different insurances you can do, and you've got restrictions on how much you can drive it and stuff like that. But if you've got a car that's 30 years old, so right now, from 1996, that doesn't feel like 30 years ago. Bloody hell. But anyway, let's say you wanted to bring like an old M3 or something like that, then yeah, any of those cars, classic cars, you could bring in. So where am I going with this? So the 5-year thing, yeah, it is a rule. Right now, if I wanted to bring in a Jaguar XKR, like I say, it's one of my favorite cars, I like it a lot. If I wanted to bring one in now, I can't. I've looked for every loophole. I've looked for every possibility of trying to bring it in through the EU, trying to bring it in from other places. I cannot bring one in because it's more than 5 years old. And I've not found a way to do it. The only way I could possibly do it in the future is waiting until they become 30 years old, and then I can bring it in. Now, let's say you're going to bring a car. I put my sensible trousers on. When I brought my Mercedes, I brought that because in my head, it was the most popular and common car on the island. So when I checked Bazaraki, it was the most popular used car on the island. I wanted to blend in. I didn't want to be sticking out. If I brought a Mustang, that was an option. Or if I brought a BMW M4, that was an option. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to draw a lot of attention to myself. And I didn't want to do that. Not in the first year or so. Here I am now, live on YouTube. Excuse me, by the way. Here I am now live on YouTube, drawing attention to myself. But at the time, I didn't want to draw attention to myself. So I thought I'll bring in something, and I purposely wanted white because White is a common color on the island because of the sun, because of the heat. And in my head, I was thinking sensible trousers. I'll bring in something that's got a rare engine, but for the most of the car, it's got lots of spare parts on the island. And then when I come to sell it in the future, it's white, it's the right color for the island, it will sell really easily, and it'll be a nice rare engine with low mileage. So that was my thought process. However, if I was doing this again, knowing what I now know, I would have brought in my Jag, the XKR to start with, and I'd have brought it as part of transfer residency, and I'd have paid the extra road tax and all the rest of it because I like it. But now I'm in a situation where, because I can't bring it, even after 3 years, because I can't bring it, I would not be able to actually bring it in. I can't bring it in anymore now myself. But if I wanted to, if I brought it back when we moved, I would now have a car on the island that would have been a British car, well looked after, low mileage. That would now be super rare because the only ones on the island are either higher mileage than the smaller engine, the 4.2, and they're way more expensive. Like a car that you can get for less than 10 grand in the UK will be like 35, 40,000 euros here if you bring a Jag. So I would have brought something super rare, knowing that if I sold it on the other end, like 3 years down the line, it would be way more expensive. So yeah, that's what I'd have done differently. Can you explain quickly? Hopefully that answers the question anyway. Guys, just give me a sec. I've been talking too long. I need to plug in. Let me just plug in power and get you all fired up. Or get me fired up. So I've got. Just get plugged in. Let's see if the socket works. Nothing else seems to work on this side. Let's give that a whirl. Just get this plugged in. A full battery an hour and a half ago. And we have power. But it says not charging. Why is it not charging? Well, that sucks. There we go. Now it's charging. Right. Cool. Hopefully it won't cut off. Okay, right. What we got? So we've got. What we got? So could I bring a car older than 5 years? I just said that one. Just done that one. No, I didn't. No. Could I bring a car older than 5 years? As I have a Cypriot dual citizenship. Nothing to do with citizenship. Nothing to do with it at all. It's the government regulations. They don't want you bringing old cars in. End of. They're polluting and everything else. Interestingly, if you buy an electric car on the island, in fact, actually, I should have said this. Hopefully people are still watching if you're interested in cars. If you buy an electric car on the island, because they're trying to go green, it's a bit like the UK was a few years ago. If you remember back when they were all pushing electric cars, before now the government's decided to tax the hell out of everything again. And there was always going to be the case, right? You get everybody onto electric cars and then tax them. That was always going to be the case. But in Cyprus, because they're a few years behind and they're trying to go green, there is I think it's like 9,000 euros for, what's it called? What do they call it? Like a grant, like a 9,000 euro grant. So if you're buying an electric car, then they will give you 9,000 euros towards the cost of your brand new electric car. And that doesn't matter whether you're buying a cheap car, an expensive car, if you're buying a Tesla, or if you're buying like a Dacia or whatever, it's the same 9,000 euros off. So you can actually buy a brand new electric car in Ireland. I think it's a Dacia. One of my friends was telling me about this just recently. If you wanted to buy a brand new electric car, you could buy one for the equivalent of about 12,000 euros at the minute. It's like the cheapest electric car on the island. And because of the Cypriot grants, you can buy it. But yeah, to answer your question, it's got nothing to do with your citizenship. It's all to do with the age of the car and the emissions and everything else. Cyprus are trying to clean up the act and clean up the air. To be fair, you know what? Whenever I come back to the UK, I think I mentioned this in one of my videos. When I come back to the UK, you don't realise how dirty the air is. You blow your nose and black stuff comes out. You're like, oh, don't remember that. You go around London, it's horrible. So yeah, you come back to Cyprus and it's all nice and clean again. So yeah, it's interesting. But I hope that answers the question anyway. What else we got? Putting the kettle on. Do you want a cuppa? You know what? I'd love one, but it's all right. Thanks, Alex. Much appreciated. What else? That is it. I'm going to make a cup of tea, actually. I'm going to make one when I finish with you guys. So, okay, that's it. We've still got 17 people on. So look, if people want to ask questions, I'm good tonight. I can ask questions. I've got more time. So if you want to know more, ask me a question. If you don't want to know more, then I guess stop watching. That's the obvious thing to do. I will give you guys just a couple of minutes, just if anybody wants. Thank you. I'm going to bring this back up if it's working. Oh, it's going a bit choppy though. Why is it going so choppy? I don't know if this is working. I don't know if I'm coming to clear. I've dropped As viewers are going to expire. No, it's telling me we've got live. No. Oh, there we go. It's dropped. I think. Oh no, it's catching up. We might not be live anymore. We might not be live. I don't know. I've got an error on the screen telling me YouTube receiving enough video data. As such, viewers will experience. I can't see it. You may or may not be live right now. I don't know. Hopefully you are. Hopefully you don't think I've just cut off. That would suck. My 5-star internet and my 5-star hotel. I really like this hotel. This is definitely 5-star. I think it's still on because the concurrent viewers have dropped. I'm going to give it a minute. I'm going to see if any more questions come through. In fact, I can put in the chat.